All right, welcome back. This time we're going to go over a couple of topics, functions, which we're going to be using a relatively decent amount. Again, scripts aren't particularly big and it's not object oriented either. So functions we can use occasionally. Again, it's one of those things that kind of jumps out at you when you need a function, when you need a chunk of code more than once. So we need to go over it. It's just we're not going to use it nearly as much as what we would in a OOP programming language. The other thing that we're going to go over is extended testing. That's how I have it listed here, but in general, it's your little shortcut to test things. So if we're talking an easy example right now, oh, I need to test to see if this is a directory, if this directory exists or not. Well, there's a switch for that, and Bash makes it relatively easy to test to see if that thing exists. With that said, let's get into a few of these examples. We're not going to be going over extended testing in terms of going into the VM and showing you every single one, just because there's too many, first of all. And then second, it tends to be one of those things where if you need it, you're going to have to look it up anyways. So it's going to fall under the lines of don't memorize it, just know that it exists and that when you need it, you go reference the docs and go find the one that you actually need. Okay, so with that said, let's go through the PowerPoint. Functions, big things, all right? A handful of programming languages like this, particularly your low-level ones, you have to define your function before you use it. Makes sense for a lot of your C++ developers out there, but if you're a primarily JavaScript developer, then maybe this doesn't make as much sense to you because you don't have to do that through a process called hoisting. But yeah, in Bash, you're going to have to define your functions first. So more than likely, you're going to end up in the top of your Bash file if you need them, along with your variables as well if you want to organize it that way. But you're going to have to define your functions before you call them. The second thing is that you cannot pass in parameters like in a programming language. And so what you end up having, you have two choices essentially. You can use the global scope of that function, so whatever the parent is, you can get the variable that way. The other option is defining that variable you're going to need within the scope of that function. So depending on your use case, it will determine which one you should probably end up using. However, yeah, you can't pass in variables like you used to in most of your programming languages. So I'll show you how to get variables into functions here in a second. And this is also part of the reason why scripting languages are not, OOP programming languages. It's harder to scale Bash the way that you could something like Python. So with that said, let's move on. Function, okay, we're defining our function right here, and then we're going to echo hello world, and then we're going to call the function right here. Okay, we're going to run that script, and then we get hello world. Simple enough. That's about as easy as it's going to get. Let's get into a couple more examples here. So using a function with a parent variable. So we got our read function here. We have our p switch here. We're just going to wait for the user input. So please enter your name. We got name here, which is going to create that variable. And then we're going to use name inside of that function. So we defined the function here. We gave it the logic, which is the same as before, except for we're using a variable now for the name instead of hello world. Okay, and then we're calling that hello function right here. And then when we run that script, we get hello Justin after I put in my name of Justin. Okay, same thing with local variable. I quite literally just moved that one line into the function itself, and now we still have access to that name variable, and this is the exact same logic as the last example. Okay. Extended testing. So we've went over this a little bit already. Double square brackets is going to be your extended testing. There's not much of a reason to use single square bracket. Okay. It's going to return a 1 or a 0 as well. So with that said, here's a few examples. Is 5 less than 3? The answer is going to be a no, so we get back a 1, which is down here. Is 5 greater than 3? Well, that's going to be a yes, so we get back a 0. Multiple conditions, just like most of your programming languages, ampersand, ampersand. Okay. Get back a 1 for this case. Testing strings. This is where it gets a little confusing, but stay with me, okay? So if we were trying to test for an empty string, like I was talking about before with just switches, and Bash does a lot of testing for you. So empty string -z, you could do it as an empty string too, like most programming languages, and then test to see if string is not empty, which this is actually really handy, because how do you test for anything that's not empty? I guess it'd just be a not true empty string. But for the people that are new to programming in general, this helps you with the logic. So yeah, pros and cons to that, but this is kind of how Bash does it. So -n, test to see if string is not empty. Okay, so we got a very similar logic up here. While name is not empty, -z, please enter, or test to see if name is empty. If it is, please enter your name, for it is required. And then we redefine name over here. So this is how you do some error checking, which we are definitely going to be doing here real shortly. And then instead of rerunning this script, you can just run this loop until they actually entered a name that's not empty. Obviously, they can enter in nonsense, but that's going to be up to them, or depending on your use case, will determine what you actually need to do here. So from my experience, typically you end up with something like a web app, and then your Python or web language, whatever you're using, does the actual logic, and then you use Bash to interact with the system itself. So you may not be doing a whole lot of error checking right within Bash, but if you're just doing a pure Bash script for other developers, this might be fine, where their honesty is there, okay? And then we're going to echo out your name is. Notice that I put in nothing in here for your name. It forced that condition up here for plead, which I misspelled that. Please enter your name, for it is required, and then I enter Justin, and then your name is Justin. So it reran this logic here. So we had some error checking built in by using this -z to see if name was empty. Example 2, we can do the exact same logic in the exact opposite way. So until name is filled, right? Until name is filled, this is right logic, right? Let's go back up to n. Test to see if string is not empty. So not empty until name is not empty, which is probably a little bit better logic, actually. So until name is not empty, do read. I still have plead in there. Must have copied and pasted it. Okay, your name is this, Justin, require Justin, and please enter your name. So it's the exact same logic. We just swapped around the for loop, or the loop itself, and then the testing condition as well. So it doesn't matter which way you use it in this case. It's just the outcome is the same. It's just how you got there is a little different. All right, string compare. Again, this is one of those things where you'll probably end up memorizing it eventually, but starting out, just use this as a reference, okay? Single equals, test to see if the strings are equals. A exclamation point and a equals, test to see if strings are not equal. The arrow bracket to the first variable, okay? This is going to test to see if string 1 is in alphabetical order compared to string 2. So you're comparing your first variable and your second variable, and then you're testing to see if it's in alphabetical order. Okay, and I'll give you an example of that here in a second. And then test to see if string 1 is not in alphabetical order compared to string 2. So here we go. Does Justin, string of Justin equal string of Briggs? That answer is no. Okay, Justin does not equal Briggs. All right. So we have an if statement here. Does Justin not equal Briggs? And then I have the echo here for our true statement. Justin does not equal Briggs. And this is where it gets a little confusing. So is Justin in alphabetical order relative to Briggs. So consider these two separate things, two separate entities, is what comes first in the alphabet, a J or a B? A B comes first. Okay, so this is not in alphabetical order, so there's going to be a false statement, and that's what it is down here. And remember, if we switch this arrow bracket around, this is testing for a negative condition. So because it's a double negative, it's still going to be Justin and Briggs are still not in a alphabetical order. Okay, so that's a little confusing. You would think it would be is Briggs in alphabetical order to Justin, but that is not the case for this. Number testing, okay, equal, EQ, NE, LT, LE, GT, and GE. Yeah, it's a little different compared to most of your programming languages. Something like a Cold Fusion would use this too, which is a little bit of an offshoot, blend everything together type of front-end language. But with that said, this is not the only example where they use something like this. I believe SQL uses it as well. I don't use SQL very much either. So let's go into a number test here. Is 1 greater than 2? The answer is 2 is greater than 1. Okay, yeah, I just swapped the logic on me. So 1 is not greater than 2, but 2 is greater than 1. So I just swapped our false statement with the correct verbiage in terms of if we're going to talk about that in English. Okay. General testing. So these are your options if you want to go down that route. So if file exists, -A. The example I used earlier was -D for directory. It's true if file is a directory. Okay, there's a bunch of them in here. So this is what I was talking about before. Don't memorize this. Just use the reference. Okay. General test example. Here we go. Check to see if this is a directory. Go up a directory, see if we're in documents. If true, document is a directory. If not, document is not a directory. Document is a directory. So wherever I ran this from, going up a directory, found documents. It was a directory. So that was the end of the PowerPoint. So we're going to do functions in the VM today and not necessarily testing. Later on, we're going to do lots and lots and lots and lots of testing. So we will be doing that a significant amount later on in the course. But for the time being, we need to make sure that we understand functions because we're going to use that a little bit more or a little bit less than what testing is going to be, but we still need to know how to do it. So functions.sh. Okay, we're going to clear this from last time, and we're going to change the permissions on that file that we just created before I forget. So I'm going to make that executable. Let's make sure it is. That is green, so we are good to go. That is an executable file. Okay, make sure we have bin bash in here. Bin bash functions. Here we go. So just like we were saying in the PowerPoint, we need to define our functions before we use them. So let's call this print name instead of hello world. I'm sure you guys are sick of it as much as I am. So there's that. I need to make sure that I have my syntax correct. And I do. Okay, I might get an error there. I don't know if I need a white space there or not, but I will find out here very shortly. So echo, my name is Justin, here we go. And then we are going to print name, set a comment here. And then instead of echo, we're going to run into that problem here real quick like. So instead of echo, let's do printf. Okay, and that will be fine. So let's try. Get this new line. Okay, there is that. Going to make a new function here. Actually, let's make a new function up here. Let's get closer to standard. Print name, global var. So printf, we can copy this. Let's call this first name. And then print name local var. Print. There we go. And then we're going to set, let's call this local name equals Justin. So there's that. And now, since we've defined all of our, we don't have a variable, we'll make, okay, first name equals Justin. Okay, now that we have made our global variable for this function right in here, now we can call our functions. So we're going to print name. Nope. And then we're going to print name global var, print name local var. Okay. We're going to save that. We're going to run that script now. Functions. Nope. Print name no var. No such file or directory. Okay, so one thing I'm not liking is that I can't read this. Because these are forward slashes. Makes me not smart. Here we go. There we go. Now I should be able to read that. Line 16 seems to have a problem. Let's open this up. Okay, there's functions. Print name no var. My name is Justin. Print name global var. My name is Justin. Print name no var. Print name local var. That is not right, is it? Print name global, print name local. My name is Justin, print name local. Printf. backslash, backslash. Let's go back over here to logic. Backslash and printf space printf. Okay, right there, that's getting ran again. Space here, space here. Print name no var. So I'm questioning right now why print name no var is coming up again. Print name global var, print name no var, which is expected, and then print name no var. When this is print name local var right here, that should most certainly work. Very interesting. Okay. My name is Justin, command not found, first name. Okay, that is coming up. That should be getting passed in with the global variable. Okay, so I'm wondering, guys, if I didn't stumble into a bash cork. So if I come over here and I put that there, is this going to fix itself? My answer is no. No, it did not. Print name global var. My name is Justin. So it's getting the value. Print name local var. My name is Justin. Command not found. It is because I never gave it a command. You guys should stop me when I make silly mistakes. Okay, so let's put this back. Let's run this again. Okay, print name no var, global var, local var. So one thing I'm really questioning right now is why print name no var is coming up again. No idea why that would, oh. Now I know. Right there. Okay, so let's give this a comment. Let's give these a comment. And that is working as intended now. So we got our bin bash, we got our functions, we have the content within those functions, local name. Okay. I think we got it. So this is going to do it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know in class if you have class with me at Alfred State. If not, put your comment down in the comments, obviously, and I will do what I can to help you. Yeah, with that said, we're going to be wrapping up here pretty quickly. We got our foundation down, we have our functions, we have our testing, we have our logic. We're going to have to start ramping up here pretty soon for this course. So with that said, I will see you in the next video.